Hello and what's this week's Devil the Detail podcast? I'm Rob Parkinson and we're here talking all things Salford Red Devils. Joining the show this week, as ever, we've got Paul Parky. Parky, first show of the new year. How was Christmas New Year for you?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Good to be back. It was good. It was a nice time, nice family time. Always good to get together, isn't it, and see everyone. I think we neglect each other most of the year, except at the matches, strangely enough, which is where I normally see my family. It's been good. It's just seems like a long break, doesn't it, this one, between the end of the season and the start of the next. I know we're on the verge, basically, but just been a long wait. I wouldn't have minded a Boxing Day game or something like that in between, but not to be. But no, we've had a good time. How was your Christmas? Was it good?
Yeah, it was good. Family round, presents for the kids. My son got one of them, VR headsets, which is, they are the miles better than the ones we used to have in the earlier, late 90s, early 2000s. So every time he goes to bed, I steal it for a couple of hours and play. But they are, pretty really good, really. Back at work, it's dark days, isn't it? Late finishes, go to bed, wake up in the dark, go home in the dark. You know what I mean? It's the way it is, isn't it? It's Sammy.
Yeah, slightly depressing, really, but brighter things to come. Like I say, we're on the verge of the season now, so it's time to start smiling again.
Yeah, loads to go at as well on the podcast this week, Parky, because obviously we've not done it for a few weeks. So we've got all the big news coming out the club, and we've got the preview of the Swinton game. So we'll start with all the big news that we've missed so far. So we'll start with the squad numbers, Parky, announced by the club, 28-man squad. What do you think? Is 28 men in a squad big enough for a Super League team these days?
In short, no, it isn't. Unless you're very lucky. I think we've seen already. I think there's been sort of mentioned that we might have 5 or 6 injuries already, and you're down to the bare bones, and the season's not started. So that's a worry, especially when you look at other squads. I see Huddersfield listing 30 odd, Castleford 30 odd, 40 or something. All right, they're not all of a standard of Super League, but they're there if needed. We haven't got that backup, which can mean that players have to play with injuries, to fill the bench or whatever. We've seen it for the last few years, but that's the situation we're in. We know that. We know it's a financial decision. It's not, I think you obviously interviewed Paul Rowley last week, and he made it clear then that he'd love to bring players in, but it's just not going to. It just can't happen. The money's not there. It's not there. We can't, make it up. So unless one of us wins the Euro or somebody, from the Middle East comes in and gives us a few quid, I think that's what we've got. We've got 28, and we had a small squad last year, and we made the semi-final, and with a bit of luck, on the day, who knows, could have made the final. So it's not a crisis as such. It's just we would like to have 1 or 2 more, I think, just as cover. But the 28 we've got is, maybe it's quality over quantity.
Yeah, I was thinking that, Park. It's quality over quantity. I'll just quickly run through the squad. Ryan Briley is 1, Ken Seo is 2, Callum Watkins is 3, Tim Laffey is 4, Joe Burgess is 5, Brody Croft is 6, Mark Sneed is 7, Jack Almonroyd is 8, Andy Ackers is 9, King Bunny Ayau is 10, Andrew Dixon 11, Sam Stone is 12, Oliver Partington is 13, Chris Atkin is 14, Danny Addy is 15, Tyro Dupree is 16, Shane Wright is 17, Alex Gerrard is 18, Adam Sidlow is 19, Ellis Longstaff is 20, Amir Burr is 21, Reece Williams is 22, Dan Sanderson 23, Matthew Costello 24, Ben Helliwell is 25, James Greenwood is 26, Ryan Lannon is 27, and Dion Cross is 28. Obviously, out of them players, Parkett, who are you looking forward to seeing the most in 2023?
Well, I mean, it's easy to say Brody again, isn't it? I mean, he's the current man of steel. They don't get any better than that. But without, being a little bit obvious, I think Ellis Longstaff, I was really impressed with his spell at Hull, and I thought he was good at Warrington before that. I know he's only on loan, but he's got points to prove, I think, mainly to his parent club. But I really like him. I think he's a good player. He's got shades of Harvey Levett about him in terms of he's versatile. He can play a couple of positions. He's got great skills. He'd be good. But we haven't really changed the squad that much, which is a great thing because normally it's 15 and 15 out with us. The nucleus of our squad is the same as it was, and that's great for building a squad and just adding a little bit of quality here and there. I like to see how Dion Cross goes again this year. He really, really surprised me last year. He came in, and I think even before the season started, I think I said he'd be a backup winger, like probably like Reece Williams, and if CO or Burgess gets injured, first game of the season, lo and behold, he's playing centre away at Cass, and you're looking at the team sheet going, have we lost our minds? This guy's played wing in the Championship. What a season he had. Made his way into the England night squad by the end of the season. He's fantastic. So I hope he can develop again and carry on in that way. Because there is a bit of competition around them positions. I know Dan Sargentson and Cal Watkins are both probably going to miss the start of the season. But you've still got Matty Costello who can come in at the centre, as well as obviously we've got Tim Laffey there as well. So it's a key position that he's got to fight for. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing him again.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Oliver Partington, new signing from Wigan. He's a good player. I think he'll fit into our system well. He's got a pair of hands, which I particularly like at loose forward in the loose forward position. So I think he'll certainly add a lot to our team. I think Tyler Dupree, he's going to have a big season after sort of last season impressing, going get into the England Knights squad. So he's going to be fired up, ready to go again and kick on. Obviously, Alex Gerrard, after last season's heroics, you're hoping for another good season for him, Parky. So there's people in this squad that have points to prove, obviously, that we're all hungry. And like I've said before, Parker, we're an opportunity club, and all these players, know what the opportunity is playing for Salford, and we're hopefully going to take it with both hands this season like they did last season.
Yeah, those names you've just mentioned there, certainly Gerrard and Dupree with a full sort of, full-time pre-season behind them now, because obviously last year they didn't get there. They were only part-time players and weren't with us at that point. So it'd be interesting how they can, how fit they're going to be for the start of the season, and get a full season out of them too. Because when they came in, it was around that time when they both sort of hit a little bit of form, both come into the team, that our season turned. I'm not saying it's because of them. It just takes time for a team to build, and Paul Rowley to get his ways over. And we had so many injuries at one point. I think we had something like 16, 17 players unavailable or something crazy, or shouldn't have been playing. So, but them two are going to be good. Ollie Partington, massive surprise that we signed him. I didn't think we're going to let him go. He's one of those players. He's come through that system there. I've spoke to people who know the setup round there in the amateur game at Wigan and around there. And they were surprised because they expect big things from Ollie. They thought he was easily a future England international or Great Britain if we can bring that back. So yeah, another great signing. And the other interesting one, when you look at the squad numbers, is Andrew Dixon coming in at 11. Now our back row is strong. We've got a lot of players that can play there. Obviously, Cal Watkins is down at 3, but other than that, we've probably got 6, 7, 8 maybe players who could play that position. And for Paul Rowley to put his faith, I know he doesn't always mean a lot in terms of squad numbers, but it looks like he's saying to Andrew Dixon, you're my starting second row. And for me, the second row is crucial for how good a team can be, because they are really the kind of workhorses of the team. And Andrew Dixon's always been like that, just solid worker from his time at Saints to us to everywhere else he's been. He went to Wakefield, didn't he, and then to Toulouse. He might not be as young as he once was, but I think he's a top pro. I think he's probably fit as a fiddle as well. So another decent pickup there. A lot of experience to put into that pack.
Yeah, Paul Rowley did say that he was the ultimate professional when I interviewed him. So obviously he has him in high regard, doesn't he? And obviously he's played from before. He knows what to expect. As well as like Adam Sidlow, he's come back to Salford. I spoke to him as well at the media day, and he made a point that he had a point to prove to come back to Salford. He's a different player now than when he left, because obviously when he was at Salford he was quite young and quite green. But obviously after he left Salford, he went to Bradford, went to Lee, went to various different clubs. And now he's like he for me is a solid professional, which is what you need in this squad.
Yeah, you need leaders. You definitely need. There's times in a season where the going gets tough, and I think when we lost Moose the other year. We lost a massive leader. What an influence he was. Him and Mark Flanagan at the same time. And there was a couple of others who went, Gil Dudson, people like that. People who were experienced and knew the way around and could sort of grind out games. And perhaps I think maybe we lost a bit of that. Certainly last year, relying on Jack Ormonroyd, who, despite not being young, he's relatively inexperienced as a leading prop forward sort of thing. So bringing Adam Sidlow in again, like you say, to do that, to add it to the squad, someone to just speak to people and guide, and he'll have been in situations where other players may not have been. And I mean, Adam, the first time round we had him, he was with the ball. He was a great player, wasn't he? A massive lad. For me, he just lacked a bit of aggression. And at that time, we had Lee Jewett in the same squad. And I think if you could combine them two together, you'd have probably had the ultimate prop.
Yeah,
because he was aggressive and everything you want from a prop, but just wasn't really big enough. And Adam Sidlow was the opposite, a really nice guy, but great hands, big lad. If he just had a bit more sort of biff about him, perhaps, I think he'd have gone a lot further. But no, great to have him and Andrew back at the club. They know the club obviously as well, which is always good. Even though it's gone through vast changes since they were both with us last time, but. No, they're just going to add to a good squad. And like I said, one or two more players, if we get the chance, if something comes available, if money, whatever, I don't know, then, I think I'm not too worried. I think we've got a great squad. It's just injuries that will worry me a little bit in terms of numbers.
Yeah, I think Adam Sidlow, when he first time around at Salford, is the kind of player that you wanted someone to give him a little tap early to wind him up, and then he'd go run around for 25 minutes bashing everybody. But at 35, he's probably not going to be doing that now. So he's probably going to be more mature, more measured in what he's going to do, and that's what experience does in it, Parky. Obviously, looking through the forwards, like you said, Ormonroyd, King Bunny Ayawa, Ben Helliwell, Adam Sidlow, bigger forwards than we had last season, which will make a difference, because obviously people have talked about our pack not being big enough, but then coming in have made our squad in the forwards a bigger thing to play.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, like you say, I had Tyler and Alex Gerrard into that, two big lads who came in halfway through the season. Now we've got some units we didn't have. I'll go on about it. I must have mentioned it 20 times. The old KR away game last year, where we were literally bullied out of the game. We had our forwards weren't big enough. The conditions were meant for a forwards game, and we just didn't have them. And as it proved, as the season went on, when the sun came out and everything, we were when it's a dry pitch and we can throw the ball about, with as good, if not better, than everyone else. But when it got into them arm wrestles, we struggled a little bit. But then we added a bit of size, and again we've done it again now. Even Ollie Partington coming in can be a proper back row, it can go anywhere, and that's another thing, the versatility of the squad, where players can play anywhere. So it's really encouraging. I'm really happy. I don't think I've been this happy with the squad for a long time in terms of just looking at it instantly on paper. So with a bit of luck, the only area I would worry is that mainly the half-backs in terms of injuries. I know we've got obviously Chris Atkin in the background as well. He's a great player. But you get one or two injuries, then we might have a problem. But fingers crossed, like last year, we get through with our back line basically intact, and we'll be a danger to most teams.
Yeah, new captain as well, Callum Watkins, vastly experienced, local lad, 6-time Super League winner with Leeds, vastly experienced. He's played under some great captains. I'm sure he'll want to play his own way. I spoke to him. He said he just wants to lead by example and not be the shouter, which is fair enough. Different captains have different styles, don't they? But I'm sure he's going to be a fantastic leader.
Yeah, and he obviously won't be alone in that. But I mean, Callum Watkins, he's probably I don't know. It's an obvious choice in so many ways. The experience he's got. I mean, the World Cup we just came through. He selected for that. What a season he just had. He was brilliant. But I don't know. I probably mentioned it to you, or I've mentioned it to a few people, that in our 150th year, it's a local lad, an ex-ball boy, who's going to skipper us through the season, which is in itself is quite a nice sort of level of symmetry. But also, he's from Stretford initially. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful to see him lead us out in front of the Stretford end at the end of the season? You know, what a dream. 158. It doesn't get any better. So, no, but ideal. I mean, the guy, he struggled, obviously, when he first came to us with injuries and everything else. Last season, wow. Just brilliant. I know he's got an injury, which is a blow for us for the start of the season, but we can look at our team and go, we've still got Callum Watkins to come back into this team. Not many clubs will have that kind of player behind him. So, no, but as a player, he will lead by example. Like you said, Dave, not going to be a shouter. He's not going to start pointing fingers at people. I'm sure behind the scenes, if someone needs a word, he'll have a word because he'll be respected in the changing room as well for everything he's done. He's played alongside Kevin Sinfield, who, as a captain, magnificent, and probably Jamie Peacock and people like that. He's been with leaders. So it'll be good. And it's just a nice sort of touch, I think, and the right choice.
Yeah, vice captains Max Need and Brodie Croft. Both integral to the way we play. I think he's tactically they're both very good, and I think having them on the field, will really benefit us and that leadership group. Yeah,
the real brains trust, isn't it, behind us? The two generals, if you like, they're going to dictate what we do this year. I think that's simple as that. If Brodie's as good as he was last year, then it's just exciting, isn't it? And against Need, like we were saying about Sidlow and people like that, and Callum, he's got that experience. He's been there. He's been around the game that long now. There's nothing he won't have seen. He's won his awards. He's landed stud trophies and that kind of thing. So I'm sure he'd be more verbal than Callum in most games, and most of the time I think he's going to be shouting quite a bit and telling the players what he needs from them to make us better. I think the other one is Ryan Braley as well. Having an experienced fullback like that, I know again he's probably going to miss the start of the year, but another as a Salford fan, it'd be great to have his involvement in that little group of leaders, and they'll get us around the pitch. So yeah, great decisions. And maybe obvious ones, I don't know. I mean, Andy Ackers could have been with a shout. He's been phenomenal for the last year or two, and there are there's several, but no, you can't go past them three really.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. Obviously, tickets are available for our first two friendlies, one against Swinton, one against Wigan. Important that us fans, get down there, support the lads. I know away tickets that we get a certain percentage, so it's important we buy the tickets from the club rather than going away from home and buying them at the opposition's ground, so the club then do get some money for them. So it's like I say, as Paul Rowley often talks about, trying to get juice in the tank to purchase new players. So if you're going to an away game and you're thinking about buying a ticket, get yourself down to the AJ Bell midweek and pick one up.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to the Cass away at the end of the year last year, Huddersfield and the playoff Saints. I don't know if it still worked that way in the playoffs, but you think of them numbers, a few thousand. If they all bought them from the club, tickets from the club, we get, I think, is it 20% of that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the numbers we took, to Saints, was it, I don't know, 4,000 maybe, something like that. If we're getting 20% of that, that's a big boost for the club when they've not got a home game for months and they hadn't had one for a while anyway. Great revenue. So, yeah, it's an obvious choice, isn't it? Get them booked from the club. Make sure we get as much of the money as we possibly can, and obviously turn up at home games as well, because that's massively important.
Yeah, the Lee away tickets are now available. £27 for adults before kick-off, £30 on the day. Pensioners are 24, 18 to 21-year-olds 15, 12 to 17-year-olds £10, 5 to 11-year-olds £5. There's also packages of one adult, one child before the game day is 30 quid. On the game day is 34 quid. Two adults, one child is 54 quid before game day and 60 quid on game day. And two adults, two kids, £59 before game day and £66 on game day. So obviously rugby league is it's a business, in it, Parky, and I always said if it ever went over 25 quid I wouldn't bother going, but here we are.
Yeah, it is slightly too expensive. I think when you stick a booking fee on top, you're paying 30 quid anyway. I know there's offers on, you want to take a family and everything, but it is a bit too pricey for me. That I think 25 quid could be a ceiling, but that's up to the clubs. All the clubs will charge that, and at least going to Lee, you do get, you will have cover. You can go away to Wakefield, Cass, Leeds, places like that, and if it rains, you get wet. It's as simple as that, and you're paying for the honour of doing that. At least at Lee, the stadium's quite nice. It's not too far either, is it? But yeah, when I saw the price, I was shocked. But if that's the going rate for sport these days, I'm I don't know. I think somebody mentioned that, was it last for United Notts Forest semi-final? You get a ticket for 30 or 28 quid or something. You pay £1 more for a semi-final of a football cup. But anyway, that's the way it is. That's me having a bit of a moan. But I'll still be there, so what am I moaning at? Yeah, it's a little pricey, but clubs have got to survive. The game's got to, we've got to pay the players, and to be fair, you should get paid a lot more than they do, especially when I'm looking at the moment at the football transfer window and the money that's being knocked about, and you think that what these lads go through for the pittance really that they end up with. They do deserve more, and if clubs want to pay them more, they've got to put the prices up. That's how it is. We need the sport to grow, so it's either that or the best of our players go to Australia or rugby union. We don't want that.
Yeah, we talked about the financial state of the game, didn't we? A few weeks ago, and the eye-watering amounts of money that clubs have lost, and they've got to make sure that they've got reserves, haven't they? Reserves of funds if any of it happens in the future. So, I do understand why the rugby league is charging that kind of money. But obviously, you're hoping that, that with family tickets available and student tickets available for students and kiddies tickets, being a decent price, the prices as a family isn't massive unless you were going to pay 30 quid each, which you're not. At least clubs have got a thing set up where you can buy children's tickets, student tickets, OAP tickets, concession tickets, others like they're graded, aren't they? And so you're not having to pay massive money each time.
Yeah, I think you mentioned there the league game, one adult, one child for 30 quid. You're basically paying that for one adult. So it encourages really, and then there's one with two adults and a kid, a child. And it works out miles cheaper to do it that way. And I suppose not everybody's got kids and families or whatever else, but that way it does work, and it does reduce the pressure on a family to go. And they must, they obviously think that people, single males or whatever who are going to go and females will have more disposable income. So does it matter? So yeah, the game needs money, and sponsorship's tough to come by. We're all in tough times, and we do have a choice. You go or you don't. But I'm sure the Red Army will be there in big numbers on that first game anyway, despite what they charge.
Yeah, sold up till the 16th of February. So make sure you get down to the AJ Bell Stadium and pick your ticket up before. Don't forget, we do get a large percentage of every ticket sold. So it benefits the club if you get down to the AJ Bell and purchase your ticket. Also announced this evening, Parky, is our reserves. They got a friendly against Hunslet on the 3rd of February at Hunslet, 8 p.m. kickoff. Obviously, I think Hunslet had a game called off due to the weather last week, so we've stepped in and helped them out with this. Obviously, our reserves looking to get match fit, ready for their season, so it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. They made great progress, didn't they, in the last 12 months? Got a lot of work's gone in behind the scenes. We haven't got an academy, so this is our next level, if you like. Next, the next generation of players. It'd be a tough test. I mean, playing a Hunslet first team. That's a massive step up for these lads who played nothing like that level, I wouldn't have thought, at any point. So, yeah, it'd be good for them to get a run out. Good for us to step in. Hunslet again. We play Hunslet quite a lot as a first team. We've drawn them quite a lot in the cup in the past.
Yeah.
We've had friendlies with them and so on. But yeah, it'd be good for them. Good, to see how they are. Chance their arm a little bit before their season, starts. And that experience again, we don't know what the season's going to throw at us, and whether we might have to dip into the reserves. I don't know. I don't know what level they're at, as in, could they can any of them make that next step, or are they ready? We saw at the end of last year, didn't we? It was a Warrington game, the last game of the season, where we threw quite a few reserves in, and a lot of them have sadly, I think, left the club, moved on. Possibly a couple of them anyway. But yeah, it's good for them to have a run out and go over to Hunslet and see what they can do.
Yeah, like I said, Parky, it's opportunity club. Obviously, they get the opportunity, and then if they are spotted by a team and then they can't find their way in, then that's how sort of rugby league grows. Your players go and play in other areas, don't they, to gain experience? And there's nothing stopping us going back in 3 and 5 years' time if they continue to develop and say, come back and we'll subsidise the other club or whatever for all their hard efforts getting you to a certain level. So I think it's great. I think Paul Rowley spoke about the reserves, said he was quite happy with the standard that they're at now, and I think that he wouldn't think twice about dipping in if the player was available, which needed to fill a position, which is great, because like I say, without a academy, it's a bit difficult in it bridging the gap. But I'm sure Stuart Wilkinson and the rest of his coaching team down there are working hard to generate players for Paul to possibly use this season and the seasons to come.
Yeah, you mentioned Stuart there, Stuart Wilkinson. We're very lucky to have him. He's a super talented coach. Everybody in the game that you speak to speaks about him, very highly. And he'll get the best out of them lads, and he's giving them the best chance. And just going back to that Warrington game last year, them young lads that came in, not one of them let us down. They looked the part, and in a game that didn't mean anything, did it? We kind of, in many ways, went through the game because we had bigger fish to fry the next few weeks, which Warrington didn't, funnily enough. And they put out basically a full strength side, so they stood up really well. So it's great signs. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they get on.
Yeah. So tickets are available for that. It's £10 for an adult, £5 concessions, and free for under 16. So if you fancy going down to Hunslet on the 3rd of February, go and support Wilkinson's lads. Talking about opportunities, Parker, we have a Copperhead player on a trial with the first team at the moment. He's called Rion Sweet. I think I spoke to Curtis Goddard about him. His nickname, he called him Rio Sweet, so we'll call him Rio. He's a second row loose forward, 6'2", 15 stone. He was raving about him. So it's great. Obviously, got this opportunity to come down and play and train with us. It's only going to benefit him as a player. It's going to benefit Copperheads, obviously when he goes back. And you just kind of hoping that we see a good performance off him on Sunday. Yeah,
very much so. I mean, this is what we spoke about all year, wasn't it? With these tie-ins with Welsh Rugby League, the Copperheads, Ghana, even Ipswich Jets, which we haven't really mentioned, have we? It's gone a bit quiet on Ipswich, but this is what it was all about: the chance for their players to come and train with us and work with us and their coaches to learn. And who knows, we may find a hidden gem. And the thing is with America, I mean, it's massive, obviously, but the sports are bred into them. There's so many athletes. I think Paul Rowley mentioned that they can't all play their native sport, if you like. They can't all be American footballers or ice hockey players or baseball players, basketball. There's going to be people falling through the gaps. And rugby league is perfect for that. Perfect. It's a game for everybody. No matter your size, there's a slot for you in that sport. I think it'd be difficult playing basketball if you're 5'4". Just thinking back to like some Rob Burrow and people like that. So that I think we've got a great chance. And this guy, I mean, if he's as good as he's saying, he's from an athletic background, and he's, I listened to an interview they did on American TV in Florida. Obviously, besides the fact he couldn't say Salford, that was slightly worrying. But it came across that he was rugby league mad as well. So he understands the sport, and I think there's a great chance of picking up some talent. Paul, for me, when you spoke to Paul, he seemed a little bit not off, but maybe not as encouraged as I am. I think there's an amazing chance to pick up somebody who can learn the game very quickly, who's going to have that athletic mindset. And what you'll find is so many of top sportsmen are great at many sports. And you know, I've had a choice growing up. I remember, you know, lads. I remember Nathan McAvoy when I was growing up. He was great at basketball and athletics and rugby league, and he could have done anything else. I know Dennis Betts before that was on United's books. Could have been a footballer. Chose rugby league. So many like that. So they cross over. And I think this guy sounds like, you know, he might be the first of many. But who knows? The next one that comes, or even Reardon himself, might just be that, you know, that player that we go, you know what, he's actually worth a shot. Let's keep him.
Yeah, Curtis was raving about Florida and how much athletes they produce. He was talking about Rio a lot and how, you know, he's so excited. And he said, what he says to me is, we haven't sent over a slacker. I think he said slacker to me. And which means he is ready to go, and he wants to come over and he wants to learn, which is so important. And like you said, he's made big waves over in Florida. He's, you know, on the news, and that promotes them. It promotes us. It promotes the sport, and that's what's important. You know, it's about growing the game and making, you know, the sport bigger. I think the only problem, the whole thing about the importing from America, the problem is that with the RFL international rules is, if you're going to bring someone over from America, you've got to put them, because they're on I think America are a tier 1 rugby nation or whatever. So basically, for them to come over, they can't just give them a 20, 30 grand a year contract. They've got to be on 100 grand a year to come over. So if you're like a Super League coach, not just Paul Rowley, but any Super League coach, have an opportunity to bring over an 18-year-old, 20-year-old American. Is he going to be worth 100 grand? Are you willing to gamble that 100 grand on him, you know, setting Super League alike? Because that's basically the rules, and I think that's what's kind of stopping teams doing it at the moment. And they're hoping that obviously the rules change in that situation, and if they do, then obviously we'll be in prime position to obviously pick up these cophead players and grow the game both stateside and here.
How are we supposed to grow the game? I don't understand that rule one bit. I mean, this is a country that doesn't have a recognised professional league, really. You know, I get it if you're going to sign someone from Australia or New Zealand or even New Guinea or Fiji, Samoa, wherever, these developed nations that have, you know, are ranking high in international, the international rankings, but USA doesn't. I think it's back down in the 20s now, ranked 20 odd or something. It's not like they produce players constantly. So I mean, I'd be very surprised to see how many Salford players actually earn 100 grand or more.
Yeah. So
to start with, so you're not going to do it because you just go to the championship and pick up 2 or 3 players quite easily. So that's bizarre. Yeah, it's a rule that needs looking into, that, because if the USA could take up rugby league big time, the game's going places.
Yeah,
we spent time at the back end last year talking about international rugby and the growth. You know, obviously, like I say, hopefully the next World Cup there could be an African nation in there. Who knows? It might be Ghana. It might be, you know, whoever it is. But another game again, there he's developing at a rapid rate. But you want the States, you want Canada, you want these big nations to take. You know, they're the ones that are sport mad to take it up, and we need to give them a chance. And I know we've tried in Canada, it hasn't quite worked yet, but there's, you know, still plenty of enthusiasm there. But the USA, it's got several leagues going because of the size of the nation. So we need to encourage that. So I'd like to see that get changed and give them a chance.
Yeah, I think with IMG coming in, I think it's hopefully on the radar, because I'm sure, I think Hull KR have had link up with Holland or the Netherlands, I think. So they might be in a similar mission sort of to us. We're ready to pounce if the rule does change, which is important. Preparation is key, Parky.
Yeah, well, yeah, very much so. Hull KR and Holland.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, it's not hard to get to from there, is it? It's very out of Hull and straight into Holland. So yeah, that's quite a good link up. But
yeah,
we all should be doing. I think that should be an obligation of a Super League club to at least have link ups in certain nations. I think we've got to do our bit. I think, you know, it's the same in football, in Premier League. You know, there's so much power at the top and nothing filtering down, or not enough. So but we've got to do our bit because, like you say, we want to develop the sport, but also it's for our own benefit to bring in the next players. You know?
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
We'll see, indeed. Talking about the next generation, Parky, 150 years we've been a club, and obviously we've gone through a few generations, and there's a celebration going on at Beulhill Park on the 11th of February. Organised by I think it's by the Supporters Trust and the Foundation. It's a night of celebration, food, a compere, singing, a comedian, a raffle. It's going to be a great night.
Yeah, I was. It's been an odd one, this, on and off in my mind, whether I'm going or not. Not because I can't. There are other things surrounding why I may or may not be going, but as it's got closer, I started to think, yeah, it should be going, really, shouldn't it? I mean, we've got to support all these events anyway. It's a massive year, massive celebration. So yeah, that should be a good night. I mean, for me, Beulhill Park, I mean, I literally can see it from here. So I probably should be making an effort. It's not far. I don't drink anymore, so it's not even like I have to stagger home. But yeah, no, it should be a good night. I hope there's a big turnout, but I must sort my diary out and move a couple of things about, and hopefully I can be there. I think that's where I'm edging to now. I think it's time to swap a few things about. But yeah, it should be a great night and a good chance for us all to get together again as fans. I know we see each other at games, but we don't really meet anymore. You know, I don't socially. It's just not something that's happening. It used to happen quite a bit back in the, when we were at the Willows. But yeah, so it'd be nice to catch up with a few faces as well.
It's because you don't drink anymore, Parky. That's what it is. And I've got kids. It's always it's a good idea, Parky, until going out and booze until about 3 o'clock in the morning when the kid wakes up and you're like, oh, that was a bad idea last night.
Yeah. Not for me.
We just follow Salford in a different way now. So if you're interested in going to the 150-year celebration event at Beulhill Park on the 11th of Feb, you can contact Shirley on 07817904217, or you can contact Dennis on 0757663194. Obviously, important part of the year for the club regarding sponsorships. I think the last time the club announced it, Ken CEO, Dion Cross and Alex Longstaff were still looking for sponsors. I think obviously with Ken CEO, part of our strike force, top Super League top try scorer, I'm sure there's a business out there who wants their name read out every time he crosses the line every 3 times a game.
I would have thought he would have been the first one to go.
I know. I thought that.
20 odd tries a season. His name's read out, more than anybody else's. That's a strange one. Same with Dion. All the tries he got last year, did he score 16 last year or something, or 13 or 16 or something? I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know how much it costs to sponsor a player. Whether to sponsor Ken CEO, it's a lot more expensive than Jack Almonroyd. I don't know how that works. I've never really looked into it, but I'm sure there's. I know even in these hard times, there's businesses out there that could do with, a little bit of advertising. And I mean, Ken CEO seems like an obvious choice. I'm very surprised he's still available.
Yeah, it did shock me when I said, obviously the club haven't updated it on Twitter, and we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure they'll announce it if they need anyone to come in and pick up these fantastic sponsorships. Also, as an opportunity to sponsor our ladies team as well individually. Obviously after the fantastic season last season, winning the League Cup, getting to the grand final and being promoted to Super League 2, £400 plus VAT. You can get your company name on the website, on the player, on the team sheet. You can get your 2023 match day shirt. You get announced over the tannoy as well, and you get your sponsor's name on the scoreboard as well, which is for 400 quid, Park, and it's pretty amazing that.
Yeah, and hopefully this year they'll get even more exposure than they got last year. I mean, it was brilliant last year, wasn't it? It was a real sort of roller coaster in the end. But no, moving up again into Super League 2 is a big step. The Challenge Cup, we're in that. Who knows where we're going that? So, and the coverage it's getting now from Sky and even at BBC is great. And so if it's a good chance to get your name sort of seen in lights, if you like. It's a shame also here at Devil in the Detail haven't got a few more quid. We could have had a bash at that, but I think it's out of our reach. But I'd encourage anybody, because obviously that money as well, it helps the girls with their progress, but it helps the club finance it, because this it costs a lot of money to run a rugby league club. We've already mentioned that we run a tight ship. The budget's not great, but so any money that can come in, and I'm sure it must be a lot cheaper than the men's first team to sponsor. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, our coffee's not quite there yet, Parker. Our listeners are there. If you want to support us by buying me, you, and Paul coffees to for the equipment and the subscriptions, and also just a bit of a fund to support the ladies, then you know what you got to do. Click the link and buy us a coffee. Basically.
Yeah, or help us fund one of the ladies' team. You just do, yeah. Do your own small part in that.
That's it. So there is, if obviously you're interested in sponsoring the ladies or the men's players who are still available, you can contact hannah.edge at salforddevils.net. And she will help you out. Talking about the ladies, Parky, like you said, they're in Super League 2 now after last season's heroics. They've got Castleford, Lee, Bradford, Featherstone, and Barrow in their division. Obviously, going to be a few tests in that division. But obviously, like you said, in Super League 2 now you're in the elite, aren't you? And in the off season we've seen them on Instagram and Twitter, training, working hard, and they know obviously they're in Super League now, so they've got to give that a little bit extra, because there won't be teams who will drop off, because everybody, it will be fit, everyone will have the skill, so you've got to match them to beat them.
Yeah, it'd be a big step, big challenge. It started last year. I remember saying that it was just a good chance for the girls to get the feel of the game and the knocks week in, week out, and we've been through that for a year, flew through it really. It was only that last game that was disappointing. We looked like we'd run out of steam a little bit. It'd been a long season. Like I said, we played as many games as we possibly could, really. So it was a big ask, because again, they're not a big squad. There's only so many numbers in there, so these girls are going to have to do it week in, week out, plus work, and everything else that they do besides, study or whatever else. So it's a big commitment for them. But yeah, this year will be interesting to see. Some of the performances last year, I still believe would have been good enough to get in Super League 1. I'm not joking. I think they were that good. There are obviously lesser teams in there, teams that weren't going to be as strong and as what we're going to face now. But that's the challenge. That's the test. That's why the girls are in it. And fingers crossed they can be as successful this year. And who knows? Next year could be playing in the actual Super League. That's got to be the goal and the dream for the girls. But there's no pressure on them. They did what they did last year in the first year. They'd only just got together. Hopefully we can bring a couple in this year, and I dare say one or two may move on. But that nucleus, again, like the first team, is still there, and it's a chance for them to develop again and challenge themselves. Yeah,
we say pressure's a privilege in it, but like you said, it's another sort of opportunity in it. And obviously next year with the Super League 2 and Super League 1 sort of merging, I think the top 10 go into the Super League or something like that. So it's going to be we've got to make sure that we finish sort of mid-table to the top, just to make sure that we're in the mix for that Super League. I think with IMG, I think there was talk about making sure that your sort of ladies team was in the Super League. So I think it's obviously that extra bit of thing that you have to do, and obviously our ladies, we know what they're about. They played well sort of last season, but like you said, it's a test, and I'm sure they'll be up for it. From what we've seen in the off season, they're pushing themselves to make it make that level. So we're all super excited about what's to come. in the Super League. Also, Parker, they're in the Challenge Cup as well. They're in the Challenge Cup for the first time. They didn't play last year because they weren't eligible, but this year they are. They're in like a group with Wigan, Featherstone, and Cardiff Demons. So I think basically what they do, Parker, they play 3 games, and then the top 2 go through to the quarterfinals. Then it's a knockout until they get to the final at Wembley. So it's going to be very exciting. Obviously, Wigan men are winning, are the top of the game. Featherstone Rovers, are a very good ladies side, so that'll be a big test. And obviously Cardiff Demons, I admit I don't really know too much about them yet, but we'll learn about them. But I'm sure if they are in the Challenge Cup, they're going to be a good side.
Yeah, I dare say Cardiff will be made up of many of ex-rugby union or part-time rugby union players as well. The women's game in rugby union, certainly in South Wales, he's big. So they could be quite useful. Like I say, Wigan, don't really Wigan doing, and Fev, proper up there rugby league, isn't it? They're dragged up on it around there. So it's a tough group. Really is a tough group. But again, I've got all the faith in the girls, and like I say, there's no pressure on them. He's still developing. He's still learning. These players there who'd only played a handful of games, even now. When they joined last year, they'd never played rugby league. So it's not like they've got a background in it or anything like that. So it's just about developing and getting better. And hopefully, like you say, we can finish mid-table or higher in the Super League 2. And if we do get a good cup run, then fantastic, because the magic of the cup, it can do anything. Can do wonders for your club.
Yeah, so it's going to be super exciting, following the ladies throughout the season. I know the PDRL lads have been training, in their pre-season. So obviously all our teams, are getting match fit and ready for the 2023 season. We'll be obviously covering the best we can on this podcast. Obviously, back when we started this, we barely had a first team, and now we've got like. Another team. It's like, yeah, it's like that's the other thing about being a great club now that we've got so many teams to follow us more time.
A valid point, that I never thought of it that way. Just keep adding more and more. No, we've gone from 1 to about 6.
Yeah,
in no time. So yeah, like you said, we'll try and cover as much as we possibly can, and I'm sure there's plenty of people around who'll pick up any pieces we miss.
Yes, that's what it's all about. It's a team effort. That's what it's all about, Parker. To finish, sad bit of news. Really, one of our under-18s who played in the pathway, Logan Holgate, passed away recently. Our thoughts with his friends and family this time at Parker. A tragic sort of loss at such a young age.
Yeah, absolutely devastating. I don't know what to say. I remember reading it at the time, and your heart just goes out to the family, doesn't it? And his friends and teammates and everything else, but mainly his family. I mean, how you cope with that kind of devastation, I don't know. And from all reports, he was a super talented rugby league player as well. It's just such a shame that these things, sadly happen. And who knows what he could have gone on to achieve. I know there's been a fund set up, hasn't there? I think last I'd seen, I think they'd raised like £30,000 or something. So that's fantastic. But sadly, it won't bring him back, and that's the sad part. But it seems to be happening more and more, unfortunately, over recent times. And we just got to hope they can find something that can suss this thing out early and find out what's going on. And stop these tragedies, because it's a massive shame. Like I say, such a talented young man to be taken away at such a young age, it's not right, is it? It's not right.
Yeah. So our thoughts are with his friends and family this time, and sad. So that's all the news. And now we'll look forward to the Swinton game. So first friendly against Swinton Lions on Sunday at the AJ, about 1 p.m. kickoff at Parker. Like you say, it's been a long old winter this, but the Reds are back.
Yeah, the boys are back in town. Yeah, brilliant. It's been a long way, and up against the old enemy.
Mm.
You know, I know to many of a more recent generation, it won't mean much. You know, Swinton are just Swinton, isn't it? But to me, and certainly people of my age and older, we remember a kind of a proper rivalry. You know, and they still really don't like us. We're more kind of, let's say, fair about them, aren't we? But they've got. They'd love to turn us over big time. But as we only have 20 odd players fit, we're going to have to play basically first team. So it's not like we're going to take it easy on them, you know. So it's good. No, it's great to be back. Sure, the Swinton fans will come and make a bit of noise like they normally do. Fair play to them. But no, I look forward to it. I really do. And I just wish it was more competitive, you know, game against Swinton. I wish our neighbours were at a level of us or around that, so we could have a proper competition. But it is what it is. But it's going to be good for our boys to get a run out.
Yeah, they played 2 games so far. I think West Midlands Hurricanes, and they beat Settle Select 13 on Sunday. Alan Coleman, you know, building a decent squad. He's had to have a bit of a turnover, obviously getting promoted with the championship to the championship last year from League One. So it's a building process for him and also for us, because obviously, you know, both teams have bigger fish to fry in the weeks and months to come.
Yeah, it's just a shame that Swinton did something that we've not done for 40 years and winning St. Helens. Yeah, it is learning, and they do. I mean, the thing is with Swinton, and full credit to them, is we talk about our budget and what we're working on. You know, they don't have a ground of their own really. They're a bit nomadic. They get a few hundred fans every week, and yet they still manage to field a fairly competitive team. In the leagues that they've been in, and I'm sure they'll do that again. There'll be 1 or 2 players out there that'll surprise you. They always do when they come. They always look at Swinton and you think they've got something there. I remember, was it last year we played them in a friendly, or the year before, and started the season. I tipped them to do really well because I looked at them and I thought they had something about them. They were a really good team. I think they got a few injuries and so on, like you're going to get, and it's obviously harder for them to replace players as well. But no, it'd be a good test. Like you say, they've had a couple of games already. They'll be warmed up and ready. And probably a few of their cobwebs are blown away. They've gone through a few moves, and they know each other's game better. But the good thing for us, like I said earlier, is we haven't changed that much. So as a team, we should probably expect to see much more of the same of what we saw at the back end of last year.
Yeah, they've got a few players obviously to look out for. Dan Morris, I think he's a good sort of standoff. Harvey Bradish, good player for Swinton. So obviously, they've got a lot of players that come in. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, with Paul Rowley, he'll have his game plan and what he wants out of the game, Parky, and as a coach, will he just want a sort of lots of points, lots of ball movement, or would he want sort of a completion, effort where you're going to be completing high and making sure that you sort of don't turn the ball over and try and get as much sort of juice in your tank as you can?
I think the one thing you'll definitely want is no injuries.
No.
And that's the big key for anything pre-season. But yeah, I think it's a case of trying to work on a few things that we've probably tried in training recently, and that kind of thing. But just a bit of iron out a few bumps and bruises. Get a run, get some game time in your legs. For some of them, it's been a while since they played. All right, we had a few of the World Cup and everything. Whether they'll be on and off, but no, it's just a chance for them to build, because we've only got this, and as far as I know, the Wigan testimonial game before the season starts.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like, because I don't want us to get injuries. So stay away from playing as long as you can. But then, will we be game ready by the time the game? I don't know. I trust Paul Rowley and Kurt Haggerty and the backroom staff there, and everybody else to get it right. So But yeah, I think, like you say, I think it's a chance for him just to see his players in action again, get a run out, have a look, see who looks a bit clunky, see if there's anything they've worked on that's not going to work further down the line, or if he spots something and thinks, hang on, this could be the next, let's work on this. But yeah, I mean, personally, I'd like to see plenty of ball movement, but I actually think it'd be good for us to test the forwards out.
Yeah.
If that was our back line, and especially when everybody's fit, is sensational, absolutely brilliant. We know that. But we've got a few new pack members that we need to sort of bed in again, and it'd be nice to see the ball go. Stick with them a little bit and see what they can achieve. How many meters we can start making, because that was a problem early last season. We didn't make enough. So yeah, but for Paul, it'll just be a chance to see his players in action again. Have a run out. I say, get them up to a bit of a fitness level, match fit, and come away with a clean bill of health.
Yeah, you mentioned before, Parky, that some of our reserves have fled the nest. Miles Harrop, he's gone to Swinton. He's a good player. Mike, but they have some good players, Swinton, and obviously, like you said, we just need to make sure that we're primed and ready. I'm sure, obviously, Paul Rowley, but really good off season by the look of it. If social media is to be believed, so obviously we are short of bodies, but we're hoping, obviously, we can get as many bodies back before the season starts, and then we can start firing Lee. But obviously, looking forward to the Swinton game. It'll be a great event. Lots of local rivalry there to enjoy. And you're hoping, obviously, we come away with a win.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to see points put on the board, wouldn't it? Plenty of tries and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I think the weather's supposed to be okay to start with. It might get a bit wet Sunday afternoon, but I don't know. But that can obviously affect things at this time of year. Cold hands and a wet ball and greasy surface, that kind of thing. But yeah, just try and get through the motions, go through the game, work on a couple of bits that they've looked at in training, identify maybe new things that they want to try out. And if the game ends up being close or whatever, then so be it. But as long as the main thing is that Paul and the players get what they need out of the game. As fans, it's just great to get back watching, But this isn't the chips and gravy of the season, is it? This is just a scallop at the start of the season. We've got much bigger fish to fry. Am I living in a chipper? I have actually, strange enough. But yeah, we have, as the season goes on, obviously there's going to be bigger challenges coming up, and but this is just nice to be back, and we'll have something to talk about. Yeah.
It will, and obviously Rio Sweet, the trialist from the Cop Ready, he'll get an opportunity, which is something to look forward to. There, we'll be able to have a look at him and see what Curtis Goddard was banging on about on this podcast. It's going to be very exciting to see. So, give us your score prediction, Parker.
I'm going to go. I'm going to think it's going to be fairly tight. Certainly in the first half, our teams are fresh and just trying to work each other out. But I think it'll finish 48-12 to Salford.
12. Okay, I'm going to go Salford 60, Swinton 6. 66, and I'm thinking we'll start off like a house on fire and just keep rolling. And Swinton will score late, make it 66, which will be a good start. Because that's what I like. What I want to see on Sunday is a consistent standard, a good consistent standard, rather than blow Swinton away in the first 20 minutes and then drop off in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, you tend to find that in friendlies, though, don't you? It happens a lot, that, and obviously, like I said before, you change the full team, basically, don't you, at certain points, and it can upset the rhythm, and it'll take a while to start again, and that's why that happens. But it'll be interesting to see what he starts with as a team. And as I mentioned before, there's players who can play in various positions, but he might want to try a few players out in other roles. I mean, one thing's for certain, that we've only got 3 half-backs kind of thing, so that's not going to change that much. Amir Burra and Andy Ackers there at hooker. But other than that, players could play anywhere. So it's going to be interesting to see what he lines up and whether he goes big and strong. First up, what you would expect for the first game against Lee, if depending on fitness, or does he go with a makeshift or a bit of a trial team and then switch it and throw Ken Seal back on the wing and Joe Burgess, because what they're going to do in them positions. Tim Laffey, does Matty Costello start in the centre? It's up to Paul. What he wants to do. It's a great chance for him to see players who he won't see for a few months. So yeah, be interesting. But I'm just looking forward to it now. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's been great being back on the podcast back after a few weeks. I want to say big thanks to our listeners for all the Ko-fi donations over the last couple of months. We've managed to invest in a bit of equipment and parking to make people's podcast experience even better. So I would say big thanks to everyone who donated so far. Don't forget, if you want to donate, follow the link and buy me, Parky and Paul a coffee to help us continue to grow the podcast.
Yeah, I think hopefully in the next few months, I may take a step up again. But I know we've got a few ideas, haven't we, that we're going to try and hopefully, get together and maybe liven it up a bit. And there'll be certain weeks where there won't be much to talk about. So, to keep everyone entertained. But the main thing is we keep you in touch with what's going on at the club. If there's anything you've missed, and just share our opinions, and everyone has their own. So please feel free to join in.
Yeah. So big thanks for tuning into this week's Devil the Detail podcast. I'm Rob Parkinson. You can find us on Facebook, Devil the Detail SRD. You can find us on Twitter at DITDSRD. You can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Radio Contact, Spotify, and YouTube. See you soon.